and welcome to the Nebraska Writers Guild Author Chat. Tonight we have Bonnie Lacy on the show with us. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Victorine. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good.
We're so glad you're here with us tonight. Will you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I am, the main list: wife, mom, Jima, doodler, follower of Jesus Christ, creative. Oh, I'm a writer. So, the main things. I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great list. So how long have you been writing?
I listen to podcasts and other interviews, and people say, I've been writing for forever, ever since I was little, and I haven't. That's not me. I was interested in words, and I was interested in quotes, for some reason. I don't know why. But it wasn't until I started journaling. I don't know how long ago. I've got over 50 journals now, so I mean, they started like this size, and then, now I do the great big sketchbooks. So, I guess you could call that writing, but actual fiction, I guess maybe 15 to 20 years. I'm not sure.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I'm the same way. I didn't start writing until I was in my 30s. And so, yeah, everybody's like, I've been writing since I was 3. And
I know.
I
know. So why did you start? What started you?
Well, I started writing just because I hurt my back and I couldn't get out of bed and I had nothing else to do. And I had a laptop. So I was like, I'm going to write that book.
Oh my gosh, that's a terrible reason. Right?
And so tell us what you write. You write fiction and nonfiction?
Yes. Yeah. So, and I've even got a couple of children's books that I'd like to dig into and play with someday. Yeah. Fiction, novels, short stories. I've got over 50 short stories. Genres, again, we just talked about that. It's like, that's a scary thing. I don't, is it fiction or is it nonfiction? Come on, so, and I guess something meaningful that gives hope. That's my bottom line. I want to write a book, whether it's nonfiction or fiction or a short story, that gives people hope.
Oh,
so,
that's excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. So how many books do you have out now?
I have 7 published. I've written 8 novels, a couple more nonfiction. So things that I'm still working on. So yeah, lots of plans.
Nice. So what was your first published book?
Well, I'll hold it up for you.
Yes.
What's this? Released. It was actually the 4th book I wrote. So I wrote one and thought that's going to be published and it's perfect, right?
Yes.
And went to some major conferences and, pitched it, and rejection. But I did one thing good or one thing right. I kept writing. And so I wrote the 2nd book in that series, then started NaNoWriMo. Have you done that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so that was my first year with my 3rd novel with Nano. And I just had a blast.
Awesome.
Just wrote everything that my character wanted to do or didn't want to do. If they wanted to go right, I made them to go left or whatever. And but it was my 4th book that I wrote that I actually felt like it was worth putting the time and the money into to pursue publishing for that one. So that's released. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell us about your publishing journey.
Well, from there, the first series is, the hardest. I mean, you just don't know anything.
Yes.
I've never been part of the publishing industry. I've read a lot, but I just didn't know anything. Where do you start? And that book, I knew that it was a mess, and I knew I needed help. I knew I needed an editor, but I didn't know how to do that. I made a couple of contacts. I sent some emails out just to figure out, I mean, I don't even remember where I got their names, but just to figure out, what do they charge? How does this work? And even not knowing anything, again, is that price too much? Will I be able to, will I even like working with them? How do you know that stuff? So, long story, I guess, but, I used to order those market guides. I mean, I'm holding my fingers up, huge, massive, fat books that are full of the agents, publishers, and all of that. And I'd earmark and underline and highlight, because they tell in there how to submit, what they're looking for, and all that. And one day, I know this is weird, but this is me. But I grabbed the book, and I know God said, "Put that back. I've got this. I've got that. Put it back. Just go write." And I guess so I did. Hence all these short stories and some novels. But short story, I got one short story published in Splickety magazine. Have you ever heard of that? Mm. It's really a fun premise. The guy that started it knew people wanted to read fiction, but they didn't have a lot of time. So it's all short stories. Oh. And so now they've branched off into like horror versions and romance versions. Do you have short stories?
Not very many.
Oh, okay. But they do have that version. So anyway, I got published there. So I started following Ben and realized that he was mentioning a conference, and it was called Realm Makers Conference. And it was their first year. It was cheap. It was in St. Louis. I could drive. And so I found myself there. But I mean, it was cool because they were Christians, but they're Christian horror writers, sci-fi, fantasy. It was a challenge. It's like, that's not me. I read Stephen King just to get his writing flavor, and his sentence structure and all of that, because I'll do that. But I found myself there. It was their first year, so it was in one room. So the keynote and the speakers came to you. You didn't go anywhere, right? So
interesting.
Visiting with people and getting to know people, and a lady sat down next to me. And I knew who she was because one of the earlier conferences that I'd been to, I slipped in on the back end of her class, and I remembered what she taught even. So here she is sitting next to me, and I had read on the information that she was going to be there. We spent the day together. We had so much in common. Oh, wow. And it turned out her name is Kathy Tyers, now Kathy Tyers Gillen. And she wrote some of the approved Star Wars series, but also has some major books and stuff. And I asked her, well, what else do you do other than writing? And she goes, oh, well, I mean, I've been digging and looking for agents and editors, right? She said, well, I'm a freelance editor. And it's like, bing, wow. Antenna goes up, and I just pummeled her with questions on, how does this work? What does it cost? What do you do? And she's edited everything I've published. So that's part of my publishing journey is her. I'm independent, but yet, so that's part of that. Yeah. Act. You have to find your own. And so she's been amazing. She's taught me so much. Really appreciate her.
That's great.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So
and then
what made you decide to publish independently?
Because I wasn't getting picked up and published traditionally. At about that time, you start digging in and doing all the research. Yes. And, finding out what things really cost and how much you really get paid. So are you independent? Are you hybrid? You are independent. Yeah. So you start learning the difference between independent and traditional. Yes. And first of all, yes, it's a lot of work. And I publish wide, so it's a ton of work. If you want to go back in and change anything, you go to every single place that has books, that you have books to change anything. But it's worth it, I feel. I like it. I like knowing, like right now, we're digging in on book covers for this trilogy that I'm writing right now. And I have control. I can say yes or no, so.
How did you find your book cover artist?
Through, do you know Joanna Penn, the creative Penn? Yeah, listening to her. And she recommended Jane. And I just got the guts and emailed her and said, this and this and this is what I need. This is what I'm doing. And she writes back, how lovely to hear from you. I was like, oh, I could work with this woman, nice. So gracious. And so, I really enjoyed it. She's done all the covers also. So.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but you do your covers, don't you?
I do my own covers, yes. I was lucky enough that I went to graphic design school. I majored in art and graphic design. And so I have a little bit of experience under my belt from that, and I figured I could dive in and figure out how to do it.
And
So,
you have.
yeah,
You're great.
I
I
figured
see
that
your
out.
stuff up on BookBub, your ads once in a while, and it's like Victorine, Amazon too. It's like, yay! They look great. They're very professional. So you're very
Oh, thank
blessed.
you.
Yeah.
All right, we have a
Yeah.
question.
Uh-oh.
I know you use Instagram. Do you use any other social media outlets?
I am not on Facebook. I deactivated it, deleted it, and stomped on it. Sorry if there's anybody. Anyway, I am Instagram. It's easy to publish from Instagram to Twitter, and I'm a little bit on Twitter. It's at Bonnie Lacy for Twitter. Pinterest, I'm learning to be an author on Pinterest and not just, graze everywhere. But I think it's mainly Instagram that I do. I do newsletters. So if you want to get a newsletter from me, you can go to my website, bonnielacy.com, and sign up there.
Great.
Facebook, sorry.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who feel that way about Facebook.
Yeah. I figure God can sell books without Facebook. He doesn't need Facebook to sell my books. So I don't know if that's cocky or not.
Have you dabbled in AMS ads?
Not AMS, a little bit on BookBub. Still learning. Again, like we said earlier, I feel like I want to get out more product.
Yeah.
And then, like once I promote the current trilogy that I'm writing right now, I've got some, what do you call it, backlog, or, the other books, the older books that I can promote or they can go to also. So I don't know if that's the right way to look at it. I'll have to read your book.
Yes, I told Bonnie before the show that I'm working on a marketing book. So I'm hoping to get that published within the next 30 to 45 days here. It's up on pre-order right now. So
it is.
I have until the end of September.
Okay.
So I really have to get it done.
Right. There's a deadline, Victorine. Yes. I'll have to look for that, because that is, one of the areas. I mean, anybody that's a writer that wants to be published or is published, that's an iffy place. The marketing, what to do, when to do, and how much to do.
It's overwhelming a lot.
It is overwhelming. So I'm kind of backing off in that area. Or maybe it's because of your book. I need to read your book. But, I just want to get more product out there and more stuff under my belt. So
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. We have another question. How many hours a day do you write?
My best days, I've written like 3 to 5 hours. My normal is about 2 hours, which is about 1,000 to 2,000 words.
Oh, that's really good time.
Yeah.
Word count for 2 hours. That's great.
Yeah, hopefully. But I guess since when I was sick in January and February, it's taken me a while. I'm not back up to that. My consistent right now is about 500 words a day. And then I like to write, something later, like that's in the morning, and something I write later is, like a blog post or, work on the newsletter or something, because I'm really bad about sending out newsletters, really bad. Yeah. So I need to improve on that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right. What is the genre of the Great Escape series?
Wow. And it's called the Great Escapee series for whoever wrote that. No problem. But you can see on the Great Escapee, that's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
It's all backwards. It's supernatural suspense with hope, I guess is a way to say it. It involves an 80-year-old man that was 60 years in prison, and he's getting kicked out of prison when we first meet him to a nursing home, which in his mind is another prison. And he feels like he's been robbed of his whole life with 60 years. But the nursing home is in the town where he was, where he grew up, but where the crime was committed. So he's confronted with all of his memories, good and bad. And he repeatedly escapes, which is the series title, but there's a deeper meaning to that for me. And he explores the town. So where you and I would see, that's the hardware store or whatever, he realizes that's the restaurant where he knew he loved Annie. And he just wants to go to the hills and die. He is hateful, he's stubborn, he's angry. And until he meets a little girl that's 4 years old named Bee. So that's kind of gives you a gist. There's angels, there's demons. I like to write about the, who's standing behind me in the invisible world or whatever. I like to write about those, the parallels, the layers. So,
so interesting.
That's book one. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
You said you sell wide. What avenue do you like to sell through best?
Wow, best. Direct. I sell off of my website, bonnielacy.com. Again, that keeps more money in my pocket, which is important when you're paying editors and book cover designers. And I haven't done real well, again, I need your book, with ebook sales, because that I feel like is where I'm lacking. I really need to push more there. And that's probably the ads, Victorine, I'm thinking, but that would increase my sales tremendously if I can get a hold of how to do that. There's a lot of people in this world, and if even 10% of them read your books, that's still a lot of people. So so I'm still working on that. So I like to sell direct. I like to go do speaking events. That's really fun. I enjoy being speaking, but then that's a great place to sell books, because then it's face to face. I can tell them, if I can pitch a person like I just did with, the theme of the book, then I can usually sell at least one. So but everywhere, Smashwords, all of the places that sell books. So
Oh, great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do when you're not writing?
I'm a doodler. On Instagram, you'll find some of and they're strange. They're just, and it's just kind of lines, some of them, but it's real soothing to do that. And it's kind of like my prime the pump to get to writing, and to kind of get into that mode. I like to walk. I don't like to exercise, but I do it. I like to play with my grandkids, those either short humans that laugh a lot. I love the time with them, just because they have such a neat way of looking at life, and they're still discovering, and it's still joyful for the most part. And it's just an amazing thing to spend time with little minds that just everything is new. And they're inspiring. They inspire me. So they help me write little 4-year-old characters in my book too.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
So what does your family think about your writing?
They're super supportive, super supportive. My husband, in a very literal way, he drives truck, and we have a trucking business. And so, he literally supports me so I can do this. But my kids are all creative. So like I said before, we're working on book cover designs. I keep looking on the floor because I have them all laid down on the floor, and when I get to like 2 or 3 images that I'm really sure of, but I don't know which one, then I send them off to them, and they say yay or nay. And they're, like I say, creative. They've got good eyes. So it's, but they're super supportive. How you doing, Mom? Always. So, they're great.
So have you ever written something, a scene or something, and you were like, this is awesome, and you feel like really great about it? Do you have like a favorite scene?
Oh, wow. That's hard, Victoria.
I know, that's a hard question.
It is a hard question. I enjoy the scenes with a little girl, with B. That's fun. Wow. One scene. I look through my book for a minute. Let me think.
Sure can.
Wow.
Think about it.
Sometimes it's the end of the scene that, when things are really working, and there's been some really hard stuff, because some of these, the books are like about prison. And so he's got a lot of pain. And the other books have, like the second book in that series has a germaphobe who lives with her hoarder gamma. That's some of my favorite stuff, messing with that stuff. But I guess, when it comes down to something really meaningful, those are my favorite scenes. And especially when the scene ends, or the chapter ends, and it's just like, what is that word, denouement? It just brings it together. I can't think of something very specific, though. That's really funny.
That's great.
Sorry.
No, that's good. All right. So would you like to read from your book for us?
Sure. I've got, I'm going to read from my nonfiction, just because when I was pitching the first book, the released, here is this angry, belligerent man that just wants to kill somebody, really. And, God kept saying, let's do something about that, because that angry man is you. And, okay, I'm angry. What do I do with it? And, with all these years of journaling and stuff, that's in the journals also, my reaction to things or whatever, things that happened. And so that is the book that I wrote because of that is, wrong way, Rage Rising. You'll see the publisher's line through there, but Rage Rising, my walk through the dark tunnel of anger. And that's a, kind of a parallel to the fiction trilogy that I wrote. And it's my story. It's a memoir. So I'm just going to read you the introduction.
Okay.
I can feel it brewing. It feels like a fist in my gut, fingers twisting and writhing until it has to explode. This isn't the old butterflies in my stomach feeling. And somehow those fingers connect to my eyes because I want to weep. A monster resides in my heart and is pounding its way through to my thinking, my decisions, and my mouth. And what comes out of my mouth are words ready to stab anyone within range. Just being honest. Rage Rising may seem like a strong title for a book, but rage or anger is a powerful emotion. Whoops. And it's not that I want to puke this stuff out here. I want everybody to think I'm this nice lady who writes and doodles, plays with grandkids, bakes brownies for people out of the goodness of my heart. See above about what's in my heart. Hint, a monster. If you're a visual person, and most people are, getting a visual of a monster baking brownies is almost comical, depending on the day. My words, my attitudes have probably done more damage than I could ever imagine. But I'm getting ahead of the story. I'm reading Brené Brown's book, Daring Greatly, and on page 60, she says, only when we're brave enough to explore the darkness until will we discover the infinite power of our light. Brave? No. Explore the darkness? I guess that's why I'm writing this book. Hopefully I will find who I am meant to be. Also, hopefully, who I'm supposed to be is not the angry woman I have become. Brené wrote on page 61, we can't let ourselves be seen if we're terrified by what people might think. I am terrified of what people might think. If they only knew what my thoughts have been and are and what my insides must look like. But I am even more terrified to stay in this mess. Further down on page 61, but if we don't come to terms with our shame, our struggles, we start believing that there's something wrong with us, that we're bad, flawed, not good enough. And even worse, we start acting on those beliefs. Acting on those beliefs. I have acted on the darkness, spewing out words of anger. If you follow the steps through anger, they start with offense, resentment, bitterness, on through anger, violence, murder. I'm hoping to find, in writing this book, my way out of that tunnel of anger, and that I will continue to heal. By the way, I don't write to change the world. I write to change me. Sorry. If that sounds selfish, it's not. It's all about survival. But I also hope that maybe someone who reads this will be changed too. Is that you? I hope you will read and interact with me. Email me. What are your thoughts? Together we might open those memories and wounds and expose them to the light and heal. I'll go first. Anger is what fed me back then. I'm sure it had been lurking underneath before, but a chain of events within 2.5 years jump-started the deadly percolating of anger and fear deep within me. My daughter was very sick with West Nile. My husband had an accident where the other guy was committing suicide and was okay with taking my dearly beloved with him. Mom was dying of lung cancer, and a son was addicted to cocaine, all within over 2 years. That's when I stepped into that dark tunnel. If I'd known then what I know now, would I have changed anything? What did I learn? but I'm getting ahead of myself. From Journal, January 24, 2018. Journal entries, raw emotion, not brilliant writing. They were never meant to be shared, but here they are, raw and unedited. I open them up to you, allowing you to feel what I felt. So how do I do this? How do I puke this anger out? I have my second pile of Kleenex beside me on the table. I had a cold. Right. How do I produce this book? I want to give people hope, but I want it to be different. Not the everyday self-help book. I want to make a difference in someone's life, give them hope, change their trajectory. I don't have 3 steps to recovery or a step-by-step guide to overcoming anger. That's not what this is. This is one woman's story of her walk through that slimy sludge lining a dark tunnel of anger. And to be honest, I go back to that awful tunnel, not because I want to, but because it's home. I have to learn to take a different path. I used to be scared of what might lurk under my bed when I was a kid. I remember. I'd lie in bed at night, scared of what might pop up, terrified of the unknown, the imagined, the unseen, until I'd finally fall asleep. Rarely did I venture downstairs to wake my parents, probably because I knew it was foolish, it was childish. But was it? Maybe that's why I'm so drawn to tunnels, underground caves, sinkholes, because they feel comfortable. Places where I can hide, where I don't have to deal with people or life. Hide away in the dark in a place that should scare me. Maybe what was in me was scarier than what might or might not have been under my bed. If this story gets too close to you, too intense or scary, don't feel bad about throwing the book away. I intend to be honest. That's scary. And that's
I loved it. Oh my goodness, so powerful.
Thank you. Hope
now
so.
Tell us again where someone can find your books on your website.
Right, bonnielacy.com. And so then there's a bookshop there and you can shop direct, but then they're also everywhere, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere that you can buy books. So yeah, but if you want a print book, I'll sign it for you and send it to you.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. We had one more question sneak in before you're reading. They're wondering if your books are set in Nebraska.
Absolutely. They're set right in this town, Osceola, Nebraska. So, I have people that say, well, now, where is that cave that's under the bridge? And I made it up. There's a bridge, but there's no cave there. Right? It's in Osceola, Nebraska so far. Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us. It's been delightful.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. We don't have any other authors scheduled for next week, and I will be out of town next week, but I'm going to be sending out another call for authors to come join us on the show. So if you're interested in coming on the show and you're a member of the Nebraska Writers Guild, you can email me or go to the Nebraska Writers Guild website and click Contact Us, and that will come to me as well. And we'll get you set up so you can be on this show. But thank you all for joining us.
Yay. Fun.
And have a great evening.
Bye-bye.